Hey everybody, Manny McFly here, and today I wanted to do a little bit of a different video. As you can see, I have a weapons case here, padlocked. I wanted to talk about traveling with your firearms. So if you have the need to move about the country, you'll want to take your weapons with you, and driving is not always an option. So I flew back home to my home state of Pennsylvania in an area that has fallen to drugs, heroin epidemic, and gang violence with the youth. So it is a very, very dangerous area, and I'm constantly being threatened by these gang members and gangs on social media. So it's almost a non-negotiable when it comes to me traveling, especially back home with firearms. So I have no experience with this, or I had no experience with this. And I went through this process, and it worked pretty well for me. There were some issues, and I'll definitely talk about those. But first things first, I decided that, hey, I needed to book a plane back home, and I wanted to take my firearms with me for self-defense. So the first thing I did was I looked at the laws, what was allowed, what wasn't allowed. So if you go to the Department of Homeland Security, the TSA's website, there will be a page that will go over all of the rules and regulations regarding firearms. What you'll also want to do is you also want to check with the airline, because some of the airlines will have different rules that they have for their airline. So that might go above and beyond what the TSA recommends, and they are within their rights to do so. And some of these airlines do, in fact, take advantage of that. Delta is not one of them. They pretty much go straight with the TSA's recommendations for firearms travel and don't require any additional security measures. Some tips that I would recommend as far as getting to the airport: try to get there, either have your own vehicle just in case you need to get back to the car for whatever reason, and put stuff there just in case the ammo, they don't like the way the ammo's packed. You can put that back in the car and you don't have to throw it away. Also, give yourself time. So what I did, I went to the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. I went 2 hours early. So I arrived at the airport 2 hours early. Also, if you have like connections, things like that, make sure you try to give yourself a good layover time. Hour and a half, 2 hours to be safe. I went with 2 hour layovers, just so your firearms make the connections so they arrive when you arrive. You don't want to deal with arriving in your destination, needing your firearms for self-defense, and you're not going to get them until the next day because they missed the connection. So always plan that out. Make sure your flights have a good layover, because delays do happen. I had an issue where my flight was delayed by, I think, 30 minutes. So I had an additional hour and a half to play with. And sometimes if you book flights that have 40-minute layovers and you get a 30-minute delay, they won't have enough time to load your firearms. So you're on a plane headed to the next stop, and your firearms are not going to make that connection. So make sure you give yourself good time. Research the cases that you want. This Cabela's Xtreme Armor Lite case, it's typically on sale for about $69, $70. Right now it's $100. It does not have the rollers. The one up above that one, the larger one, does have the rollers, so you can roll that through the airport, which gets into another issue that I ran into. This guy's kind of heavy. I have an AR-15 pistol and 2 additional pistols with some ammunition, magazines, some holsters, etc. So it can get pretty heavy. So you either want to, one, get a cart, rent one of those $5 carts at the airport. That's what I did, ended up having to do, because I parked way away from my actual gate. So research your gates, know where you're supposed to be, park as close as possible, have a human, if possible, take you to the airport, just in case you need to have them come back in, grab some ammo or whatever the TSA may not like in your suitcase, so you don't have to destroy them or forfeit them over to the TSA. You can just give them to your ride, and they can take them back home for you. So what we did end up going with is the Cabela Xtreme Armor Lite case. Has slots for 6 locks. I have 2 on each side, 2 on the front. As far as locks go, I went with the 40 millimeter brass Shackle. The standard ones did not work. I went with the Brinks standard links, and they weren't long enough, so I couldn't lock it. With these, boom, you got it. You got more than enough room. So I had them all facing up, and I grabbed 2 4-packs. If you grab the 4-pack, it uses the same key. So you got the 2 on each side use the same key, and the 2 in the front are from another 4-pack, which uses the same key. So I only had 2 keys on my keychain, and what I did was I marked the lock with tape, the 2 front ones, and I marked the key with tape so that I know what key goes to what locks, just in case I had to quickly unlock them. I was able to do so. So we'll go ahead and we'll unlock the 2 front ones. And this gives you the ability to unlatch the front, and you can lift up a little bit, and you can slip in the unloaded card if you need to do so, which I had to do at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. So let's go over what happened when I arrived at the airport with my items. I arrived at the airport, did my printed out my ticket, went up to the counter to do my check bags. I had 2, this being one of them. With Delta, check bag is $25, additional is like $35, something like that. So I ended up paying like $60 for each way. So it can be expensive, but that's what happened. Went to the counter. You know, I told the woman at the ticket counter, hey, I have 2 check bags. One of them needs a declaration. When I said that, she knew that I meant firearms declaration, and she actually said firearms declaration back to me, and she said okay, and she pulled out the card and started doing the processing my check baggage. They put some special stickers on this one, and they put some kind of special tag, that label right there. I don't really know what that means, but it means something to the airlines, and my other bag did not have that. So that's going to be some kind of special indicator to them that, hey, this package has guns in it, if they can't tell by the fact that it says Cabela's on there. So, and that's another concern people had, making a discreet case and whatnot. The discreetness will only benefit you walking from your car to the ticket counter. Other than that, it doesn't matter, because internally they flag this stuff, and all of the employees, including the rinky-dink bag handlers, the sketchy looking guys you see on the tarmac, those guys know also. So a lot of people are concerned about them stealing, and we'll get into ways to secure your firearms from theft of by the employees, which is probably your greatest threat. Not just your average Joe stealing anything, but those baggage handlers stealing your stuff. So this allows you to slip that card in if you need to. So I got there, she actually filled it out for me. I just signed, I paid, she checked my ID. She wanted me to open the case up in the crowded Delta ticket line in the crowded DFW airport, and I refused. I said no, it's actually, you know, a crime to do so, and I don't feel comfortable doing it. And I waited for her to give me some additional options. Well, she said, you know, well, you have to put it in there. And I said, well, I can slide it in the front, but I don't want to expose my firearms or brandish them in a lobby of an airport. So I pulled the front down, took the 2 locks off, pulled the 2 front tabs down, and I slipped the card into the case, and that worked for her. Another funny thing is, she didn't check to see if they were unloaded. She just asked me if they were unloaded, and I said yes, they were unloaded, and that was that. So the rules may not always apply, and a lot of times they don't even know the rules themselves. So that's what I did. She tagged me She got a guy to take me down to the TSA security office, which was not too far down the way. He had a cart. We put the firearms on the cart, and we walked down. TSA guy put it through a scanner, gave us the thumbs up, and I went to through the security checkpoint to board the plane. Also, they give you a receipt for your checked baggage. Make sure you have that. Usually they'll put it on the back of your boarding pass. Keep it. A lot of people they'll after they get off their flight, they'll toss their ticket. You keep that, because there's the chances your receipt for your checked baggage is going to be on the back of that. So make sure you keep that. When I arrived at my destination, which is a very, very small airport, probably if there's a list of like 20 smallest airports in the United States, I promise you this airport is going to be on that list. And when I arrived, the entire Delta crew was processing the plane, getting baggage off. So they weren't able to, get my guns to me. So I'm sitting in the lobby of the airport waiting. I think I waited about 40 minutes after I arrived at my destination before the employees started to kind of filter back into the airport to do other duties. So I finally get with the ticket person / baggage handler at this tiny airport, and I go, hey, I need to claim my firearms. And she looks at me and she goes, oh, okay. She grabs my ID, and she goes into the back. She's back there for a while, and I'm, like, what the heck is going on? She comes back out and she's like, I can't find them. And I say, I'm not, she kind of just like wants me to go, oh, okay, well, I'll see you later then. That was kind of the attitude she had. No, you guys have $5,000 worth of my firearms. I'm not leaving this airport until I have them in my possession. So she goes back and she's looking again. And then she opens the door, and I happen to look, and the guns were sitting right by the door the entire time. And she goes, and I go, hey, that's them right there. That's my case. And she goes, oh, well, they didn't mark it. I don't know who they is, but she pulls it out and she goes to hand it to me. And I'm kind of looking at her like, I don't think this is the process. And she goes, oh, and she pulls it back. She sits it down, mind you, right behind the counter where I can just grab it and take off, and goes in the back and gets out the zip tie. And this is the zip tie. This big, giant, long zip tie. I wouldn't say giant, but it's larger than a standard zip tie. This is the TSA's answer to the Florida terror attack, where the gentleman flew legally with his firearms, picked them up from baggage claim, opened it up, loaded the weapons, and then started to shoot and kill a few folks down in Florida. So this is the measure that's supposed to stop that, which is insane to me. But that's what your federal government came up with to defend us against an ISIS radical Islamic terror attack, is a industrial zip tie. They actually take two of them and zip them together and go once over the case. I mean, it would make more sense if they did it around that way and then the other way as well, but they probably don't want to waste the money, so they just go with the two and just zip it that way. So let's go ahead and get this guy taken off. Another thing with the locks, I had a keychain where I stored the two Brinks sets of keys and then the gun lock key, and then I took a copy set of these and I stored them on my carry-on bag in a secret place in my carry-on bag, just in case I lost these, I would still have access to my guns, etc. So that's also something that you should do. And also keep another set, maybe at home or with your wife or something, just in case. She can just pop those in next day air and get them to you should you need them if you lose your two sets. You can still eventually gain access to your firearms. But this method just seems to work really well for me, and definitely eased my mind as far as, if in the case that I were to lose the keys somehow. Always take gun trigger locks with you, because you never know what situation you'll be in. I was in a situation where there was a child in the home, so these came in handy for me. I was able to secure firearms that were not on body. So we'll get these locks off. And then we'll see how easy it is to cut this anti-tear ziplock that we have on here. So I just have some kitchen shears, and let's see if we can get through it. Yeah, comes right off. Cuts right off. Easy. That's kind of sad. Kind of sad. That's all they came up with. But they probably realized that there wasn't really anything they can do. The only thing they could do is just take our rights from us, which that ain't going to be an option. So here's my firearms unloaded card that Delta had, and they threw it on there, put the date, put the agent name, and I declare as required by federal regulation 49 CFR 1544.203 that the firearms being checked as baggage are unloaded and packed in a hard-sided locked container. They didn't actually confirm this, they just asked me. So I have all my magazines and everything in here. My firearms, you know, they have a trigger locks on all of them just in case, you know, an agent got in my case and were to steal my firearms. It adds another layer of, hey, you're wasting your time, jackass. So that's what we have there in the case. And my experience coming back, I get to the little airport. I go an hour and a half early because the airport is so small. It didn't really make any sense. I probably would have been fine if I went an hour early, but I came in. I brought the guns in packaged up just like this. I went to the counter, Delta counter at the small airport, and the woman said, you know, hey, are these unloaded? Yeah, they're unloaded. She wanted to check. She actually wanted a visual check. And the way that airport is designed, the TSA office isn't secured. The TSA office and scanner are actually right behind the ticket desk. So there's no private area where they can take you to open the case. So, you know, I explained to them the law and that this is actually a crime doing this. But the way the airport is set up, there's no way around it. So I opened the case up. I showed the firearm. She looked at them. She looked at them like she had no idea what she was looking at, and she was just like, yeah, that's a lot of guns, and that's a big gun. Like, she didn't really have any experience with firearms, you could tell. So she kind of made this face, and she threw the card down on top of there, and I closed it back and locked it up and made sure everything was secure. I walked down to the TSA scanner, which was a couple of feet down, and they scanned it through, and they gave me the thumbs up. Got my my receipts and everything, and I went through security, boarded the plane, headed back through Detroit and back down to Dallas. And when I got to Dallas, the pickup was a little bit different. I came off the plane, I went to the ticket counter and asked, hey, where do I pick up my firearms coming off the flight? And they said, oh, you know, baggage claim office. I walk back down to the baggage claim office. I say, hey, where do I receive my firearms coming off of a flight? She kind of looked at me like I was crazy by saying the word firearm. She said, oh, okay, when the yellow light on the carousel starts, your baggage will be down at the oversized baggage area, which is a locked conveyor belt. So I said, okay. So we waited. The baggage started to roll out. The light came on. We walked down to the oversized baggage claim area, and there was like a little separate carousel for like special items, I guess. There was a older woman at the carousel as I walked up, and she had my case, and she was kind of like looking around it in, you know, in a confused look. She was really confused looking at it, and I wanted to yell, hey, that's my case, but I was pretty far away. So I waited and I walked up on her, and she was just kind of looking at it like, what is this? Like, why is it locked up like this? And I said, hey, that's my case. And she goes, oh, okay. And she goes, can I check your ID? And I go, yeah. Gave her the ID, and she put the zip lock on, the zip tie on there, zipped it up, and handed it to me. And I laughed. The anti-terror Ziploc, she laughed too. And I walked out of the airport with my luggage. Alright, so we went through the story and my experience with traveling with Delta with the firearms kit. You can see the stuff that I went with. P320 with a grip module, got a SIG magazine, array of magazines, two 21 rounders, two 17 rounders, two 15 rounders. I got a Shield 9 Smith & Wesson with two 10 round magazines, Hive plus two Pinky extensions. I got 20 round Lancer mag and two 30 round mags for my AR-15 pistol. Got a decent amount of ammo. I think I took 50 rounds of 300 blackout, 100 rounds of 9mm, and 50 rounds of assorted defensive rounds and some dummy rounds. I think I brought about 4 dummy rounds just in case I was going to run some drills or anything like that. So would I change anything about my loadout, the equipment that I brought, and the way I did things, and thoughts on the TSA's firearms policy and their changes? Would I change anything? No, I don't think I would change anything. I loved this kit. If I were to travel anywhere other than back home, I would probably go with a different case, maybe a smaller version of this, and just go with pistols, magazines, and ammo. Probably wouldn't go with the AR-15. But if I'm going back home, if I'm going to any state that I used to reside in where I have friends, I'm going to take the AR-15. I love the way it shoots, and I love to shoot it. I love to share the experience with family and friends whenever I'm out there. My dad got to shoot with me, so I was excited about that. That was fun. The case held up great. It held everything in place. This thing was thrown around all over the place, so that was really cool. The TSA's policy, I think the TSA's policy is a good policy. It's not annoying. The only problem is their employees are not trained on it, and most of them have no idea what they're doing or talking about, and they skip steps. They ask you to do things that are illegal. It's not consistent. Some people are on the money. Some people have no idea. And if I were to change anything about that, I would say, maybe train their people better, and definitely the airlines. The airlines people definitely need trained on this. They really need trained on this. It's to a level of extreme danger, when they don't know what they're doing, because they can cause a lot of grief. They can cause some criminal acts to be committed by good people because they don't know what they're doing, and they think that they are an authority when in fact they are not. So I would definitely change training aspect for airline employees. They need to all be on the same page. And that was probably my biggest issue. They didn't really understand going to my destination that I had firearms. Only certain individuals did and understood, but the system itself, it was not logged in their system as, hey, I was traveling with firearms. So on the way back, I wasn't even able to check into my flight. They made me go to the security office. It actually prompted me on the page, hey, you can't check in on this flight. You need to check in with the security office. And I knew right away, it had to do with my firearms and the system catching up and saying, hey, this guy actually flew with firearms. He's probably flying with them back. So we want to talk to him before he gets on the plane. So that's all that really was. I wasn't too afraid. I understood what was going on, and I just, made sure I got to the airport on time. So if you're flying in big airports, big majors, time is everything. You want to give yourself enough time to get this stuff handled and run around the airport dealing with these firearms getting checked, and then give yourself some time to get through your standard TSA security check to board your plane. So definitely give yourself time, follow the rules, definitely double check with the airline to make sure that you're following their rules also, on top of the TSA's rules. Some additional security things that you may want to pay attention to: traveling with a pistol in a small case, a small lockable case that you put inside of a suitcase that's being checked. I would not do that. I would recommend against that big time, because you're setting yourself up for an easy theft. Your firearm is going to get stolen if you're traveling like that. So what I would recommend is getting a smaller case, maybe half of this size, that's lockable on all sides, and then put your trigger lock on your gun and then lock your case on all sides and travel that way, so that the case gets pushed through under, the firearms. So if you travel with just, I just want to take say you want to just take the shield and you just want to throw it in a little lockbox, hard-sided case that meets TSA standards, and then throw it inside of your check bag and then check that bag, you're probably going to get your firearm stolen. So if you're going to do that, get a hard Pelican style case as your check bag. Don't use a standard suitcase. So you want to secure everything, and if it's small, they're going to steal it. So this big giant thing, they can't really get away with stealing this because it's massive and it's heavy, and somebody's going to notice a guy carrying a freaking gun case through the airport, or trying to get out of his work area. But if you have like a little tiny gun case, oh man, they can just tuck that under their shirt or something, and they'll just walk up out of here with that, and your gun will be gone. So you want to make sure you make it as difficult and awkward as possible for TSA and airline employees to steal your firearms, because that is your biggest security threat, are the airline employees. So thank you for checking out the video. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and I will put the descriptions to the items that I used in this video in the description box. You guys have a good day. It's Manny McFly, and I'm out. Peace.